wanted to add a little bit to that because in many respects, my fellow member represents a more or less traditional grad student situation. I want us to think about the numbers that she presented for those of us who are parents here and have to raise children. I want us to also think about that in the context of where Seattle is situated among major cities in this country with the worst wealth disparities in the nation. The Seattle Times reported on this, the New York Times reported on this, that Seattle is one of the worst major cities for wealth disparities. Traditional grad students are trying to do whatever they can to make ends meet. Imagine with folks here that have to raise children, take care of younger siblings, what they have to do to participate in any degree of social mobility on these salaries. And what we're told is that a 0% as it stands, a 0% increase and 1% increase over time. What do these students do who want to participate in this, who want to have any degree of social mobility or even financial security for their lives and their children's lives? What do they do under these conditions? And how is it that the University of Washington, which is an education institution, is supposed to have some sort of mission as far as providing some degree of social mobility? What are they going to do to reprioritize the allocation of their funds to protect people like this, to protect not only traditional grad student situations, but those of us from working class backgrounds and those of us, we thought this was a place where we have a shot to secure our future and our children's future.
I can tell you what I've tried to do in my career at the University of Washington as a department chair in the Department of Communication, later as Dean of the Graduate School, and more recently in Central Administration. I don't have really great advice for anybody who doesn't have the ability. I mean, what you described is extraordinarily challenging. What we're trying to do, which we can do within the resources that we have, is to raise money for fellowships. That's been a top priority for me the whole time I've been at the University of Washington in administrative position over the last 15 years, and very much part of the campaign that we're doing right now in terms of fundraising. So we're trying to raise money. We recognize it's a very difficult situation, but I don't have quick answers in terms of how to think about managing month to month. I'm sorry, I wish I did have the ability to fix that one, but I don't. But we are trying to actually increase. We don't have enough financial support for our graduate students, and that's why fellowships in particular have been a huge priority for us.
Would you take a $100,000 pay cut to pay for our raises?
So
he's retiring. Washington State salary database today. It looks like one Provost Baldasty took home over $400,000.
Right, I did. And I'm retiring in 2 months. So
yeah, timing was really coincidental.
I want to know what your vision is for competitive or keeping this institution competitive. You're cannibalizing faculty lines, you're cutting custodial staff, you're now trying to privatize laundry workers. What's your vision for keeping this institution competitive if you're not bringing in new, either the brightest and best faculty or the best and brightest graduate students if you can't offer us competitive funding? What's your vision for keeping this institution competitive? Amongst its peer institutions. You talk about the peer institutions, how are we supposed to retain our competitiveness if you're not willing to fund the people who are vital to this institution running?
Well, in terms of what we've been doing with faculty salaries, we have made progress over the last several years recruiting assistant professors.
My department went from 30 full-time faculty to 23 this last year with no renewals of those faculty lines.
So I'm talking about the whole university, okay. The average there. We have made progress with assistant professor salaries. And
they're coming in much closer to their market, basically. So yeah. we are hiring competitively. The people who are the faculty who are the most behind in terms of salaries, the people who've been here the longest.
Right.
The full professors, they usually have been, because of the 4-year trough in which there were no pay raises at all for faculty and staff at the university. And so they've suffered much more. We actually are. So I guess my sense was I think we are trying to hire competitively.
Okay, just a quick show of hands. Who all here pays more than 30% of your income to rent? Who pays more than 50? This is a huge problem.
And I live in student housing.
Yeah. And
So do I.
So many of us live in student housing.
$2,200 a month for 900 square feet.
Yeah. So I know we also have
Well,
a
you still
bunch
gonna
of
go
questions.
up, 'cause I'm-
Oh.
No, we can go a little bit. How about having to move out of the city and commute every day for an hour for the last 3 years, right? To do that, to teach 3 classes to
On the bus.
253 represent, right? Waking up, teaching 3 classes in the morning just to make ends meet, to be able to take care of my children and to attend the school. Yeah, you can keep going.
Yeah. And Sam, can I give an update from downstairs?
Yes.
There's a lot of people downstairs that are not fitting in here. They're following on Facebook. The question that they pull together that they want the answer to jump off of what you were just talking about, Seattle's in the top 5 consistently for rent increases. What is your plan for addressing this?
You have never addressed this, by the way. Never. Like
So,
the
yeah,
the
so
rent
let's hear
increase
it.
is what is driving us into financial oblivion.
More than anything, yeah. So
and-
what's your plan for this?
I don't have a plan for rent increases in the city of
Well,
We
I mean,
just heard
accounting
it.
for them, like in the budget, do you account for the fact that the city is getting more and more expensive at the rate that it's kicking us out? We can't come to work at a certain point. We can't be here.
Even if we're here physically, we can't perform the way we need to even do the kind of work that would make this university.
My students are complaining about this. Like, they're complaining about me being tired. They also complain about what we make as well. They have told their parents.
Before we move on, what is the plan? How, like,
Yeah,
you know
like,
this
have
is
you
happening.
just considered
No,
it?
I don't have a plan for how
Why
to deal
not?
with
This
it.
has been a problem for 4 years.
Seattle residents.
Not Seattle, what about
Where did you couldn't predict these home rent increases? Where have you
my
been?
rent has gone up $300 in 3 years.
So we've-
University rent.
And that's for the
Problem for
student
you.
discount.
Do you think you would have a plan?
Sorry, this is getting
My question, if it was a problem for you, if you are not stable and paying your rent, do you think you would come up with a plan then? If you don't have a
And
plan?
pulling together a personal budget, yeah, we would probably both, I mean, I lived in Redford Court for a while, and my husband was there, and that was a stretch for me.
Right, but
And I commuted down to Olympia.
The trend
That's
among
so
big
big
companies
time.
these days is when employees strike for more wages, they come up with plans for like techniques that they could not follow themselves. So I'm asking, like, we want a plan. We would like to have answers to our questions.
And I
Yeah.
told you, I don't have a plan how to deal with Seattle rents. What we've done in terms of university grants, in terms of university housing, is when we have, the regions look very carefully at every increase in the residence hall, they have to be tied to labor costs primarily, not to market. We don't tie to
That's
the
not what
market.
we're asking. We're asking why have you not taken the rising rents into consideration in setting our base pay? Like, we don't care about, we know you don't control the rents in Seattle, but you could pay us such that our rents are below 30% of our entire incomes, where now they're at 60, 70, 80%.
That sounds to me
Professors
like
aren't going to be in a 30% rent burden, 50% rent burden situation. We are. When you're thinking about prioritizing different groups of employees, think about those that are
Like, literally, some people
underwater.
just don't come back to work. Like, some people just disappear because they can't afford it.
And we account for 70 out of 100 face-to-face hours with undergraduates. Like this past quarter alone, I've written 25 letters of recommendation, even though I'm not like the best person to be doing this, right? Our students depend on us. We are the university for a lot of them. We are the only person who knows their name, who reads their work, who remembers them after 6 weeks.
Why the university doesn't have a maternity leave policy? There is no maternity leave. If the woman given a birth to a child, she has to. I'm an international student. I gave a birth to my son a year and a half ago, and like as an international student, you cannot get off leave because on leave because you have to depart from United States for this period of time. So there is no policy. Also, a lot of other peer institutions do maternity leave for this period of time. I did the research today on in Stanford, Berkeley, MIT, Harvard, North Carolina, Ohio State, like lots and lots of UC Davis. Every university event they have maternity leave policy. How it's possible is just inhumane for the person to go back to work after you gave birth to a child, and it's non-reasonable situation.
So then the next question is no maternity leave for
Well, there's going to be a paid parental leave beginning in 2020, and we've told the team about it. There's no, I mean, there's none for staff as well. So, I mean, they use vacation and sick leave. It's the same. I'm saying that we're not singling out ASEs.
Thank you for that raise to the bottom.
But that's a state policy, correct? The 2020 policy? And so you're obliged to abide by that policy, but in bargaining, we've been told that there is no decision to step forward and say, well, let's implement that policy for ASEs as well. And implementing
that's not accurate at all.
Okay.
In fact, it's quite the opposite, that we said that the majority, despite what I think Dave Parsons or Mike or others have said, is that we believe that for the majority of the ASEs, they will be eligible for the paid parental leave, which is 12 weeks of paid parental leave. So we've been very clear about that, and it will begin in 2020.
So nobody is supposed to have kids.
We would also like to have, we don't need to do this now, but we would like to have a little bit of clarity on where you're getting those numbers, because we, again, don't quite believe them.
Sure.
We talk about that outside of this room, but I do think it's a really important concern. And I think that another thing that we really want to emphasize is that this is not separate and aside from the equity proposals we've been working on. Mm-hmm. The economic issues here are also very much issues of equity. And as people have been very clearly demonstrating, we're getting pushed out of the city, and it's resulting, getting very close to a system of higher education where only the independently wealthy are going to be able to get a graduate.
At the University of Washington are often available to students, graduate students, after they matriculate. So the only students who could take the leap and join the University of Washington have the chance of getting those fellowships are those who feel comfortable in taking the risk that they may not get paid unless they get a fellowship. Yep. So I think fellowships are very important. I think everyone here would understand that, but it's really that we sign on as graduate students as academic student employees to receive our income.
I want to sign on to both those things. As an international student, for one, obviously my situation is very complex in the sense that I have a limited ability to work. I have to work 40 university, 20 hours only during the year, 40 in the summer. Very strict limitations on what I can do. I can't take out loans and so on. With the rent burden and everything else, and like the fellowship thing, I'm in good academic standing. I've won almost every fellowship I've applied for, and I still go to the food bank to make sure I can eat. And when I talked to the admin in our department to be like, okay, what can I do? Because there's no job opportunities in the summer, and you can't do anything for me. I can't work anywhere else. And the answer literally was to point me to the food bank. And the thing is that on the one hand, I'm hella mad that is the only answer. On the other hand, I'm mad that it took them 2 years to tell me that I could go to the food bank.
And now we have a food pantry on campus for the campus community because the campus community as a whole is dealing with food insecurity and because of the rent.
And so I just want to say, like, fellowships all you want, but I want I don't want to have to compete against the entire department for like $5,000 over all of next year. What I want is for all of us to be able to live.
Yeah.
There's been a question behind there for a while now. Sorry. So I'm just going to amplify a question that was posted on the Facebook Live on the topic of health. I'm going to quote them word for word. The suicide attempt rate for trans people is 45%. The success rate is 10%. Much of this comes from the lack of access to trans-inclusive health care. Not only is the University of Washington refusing to extend trans-inclusive health care to us, it's also offering to pay us less, which means we are less able to afford medical procedures ourselves. So my question is, how many dead trans ASEs is the University of Washington comfortable with? Because when you block us from accessing the medical interventions we need to live, that's what you're doing. And you can address that answer directly to the camera.
I don't know where the camera is.
Right there.
Are you the camera? Yes.
Yes.
Hello down there. I will tell you that the GATE plan. I will tell you that the GATE plan is actually more robust than any of the employees or faculty have, and that, to the best of my knowledge, it includes everything in terms of trans that the regular. Is that not?
It doesn't include the entire WCAP standards.
And the uniform does.
I'm saying it's not fully trans inclusive for what people need.
It is as inclusive as what the state offers.
He's been.
So let me just say we have 5 more minutes just so everybody understands what the time constraints are. Thank you.
Good, because speaking of numbers, just looking at the annual expense report for the UW for just this year, we've increased our operating loss by over $90 million. That means that $90 million more is being spent over just 1 year. And I'm surprised that has anyone mentioned Workday? I got here a couple of when I guarantee you the Department of Computer Science here, which we're spending so much money on as well, probably could have done the job in-house for much, much cheaper. Now, if you look at all 13,000 graduate students and the, about $1,300 each in increased expense fees, that could have easily fit within all of that waste, all of that oversight that just didn't go on. Are we being punished for the screw-ups of the administration? Are we the soft target so that they're helping to get money out of because they spent what they didn't have on needless things?
Boom.
We're not punishing you because of other things. We don't get down and say, oh, we're going to get those people. No, that's not how we operate. What we're trying to do is to provide the richest educational experience that we can to our students.
Did anyone's educational experience improve because of Workday? How many people had paychecks delayed because of Workday? Reimbursements delayed?
2 months without pay, you're canceled.
So I guess what I would say about Workday is that we had an HR system that was over 40 years old that was running off of COBOL, and we had 2 people left at the University of Washington that even knew how to deal with COBOL. And so it was a precarious platform that at any moment was going to crash, and nobody was going to get paid. Nobody was going to get paid. Period. So we made the decision. Let me finish, okay? So what we did was we realized that we had to make a change, and so we chose Workday as the best platform. Did everything run as smoothly as we had hoped it would? No. But that frequently happens in these kinds of transitions, and so I don't think it's an issue. I mean, a lot of us were deeply involved. I don't think it's an issue of bad faith or incompetence. These are just really difficult things to do. When you have a university as big as this one, as huge as this one, that's got, I don't know how many, 60, 70, 80 different shadow systems that are doing finance, you have no way of knowing what anybody's doing. You have no idea how to pay people, and trying to get all of those diverse systems together into one system is extraordinarily complicated. Some places have taken twice as long to do it as we have. So I think, are we delighted there were problems with it? No. We were happy that there were snafus? No, not at all. But it was still the right thing to do. It was still the right thing to do. Because otherwise, before long, we were going to have a collapse, and nobody's going to get paid. I mean, that's where we were headed. And so if you ask me sort of what in terms of leadership, what do you do that's responsible when we didn't say, let's spend a lot of money on this. That's a great idea. We said, we're going to have to change this plan. How do we do it? And this looked to us to be the system that was the best one for the future, and it would also be a foundation for finance transformation and student systems and other kinds of things. So the idea was a long-term strategy that would be effective and efficient over time.
Can I just add on to that and say, the university didn't seem concerned at all when I didn't get my paycheck and my health care got canceled. The only reason I got it back was because of the union.
So I will, excuse me, that's just not accurate either. either. There were many people that were working late into like midnight, 1, 2 o'clock. I was one of them. So
You mean our standard work week? Yeah. We do that all the time.
no, I think your standard is 220 a quarter. So I would say that we were very concerned. We were very concerned for you. We were very concerned for our staff. We were very concerned for our faculty. And I would reiterate what Provost Baldasty said. None of us were happy. We were very unhappy. But there were blips, and we're sorry.
Is that a real comment?
It really is. It really is. But you don't want that because it's time for the provost and.
Hey, Maddie needs to make a final point. If we could have Maddie just really quickly.
Sure. One final point, and then.
I just feel like we had a question that was underlying a lot of the questions that people asked, specifically about, the proposal that we put on the table would prevent ASEs from being rent burdened, and that back of envelope calculation would work out to about $30 million. And I think we all just want to hear why, in this multi-million-dollar budget that the university has, why you were unable to afford, the $30 million that we need to prevent ASEs from being rent burdened.
Let me follow up. 30 million is how much Workday went over. When you needed 30 million to cover Workday and make it work, you found 30 million. That's what we're proposing is our increase.
Let him answer.
30%. I'm not here to negotiate with you over this.
But I mean,
I'm not
you're in charge.
You're in charge of the budget.